Some of you may think Marco Polo was just the guy you were looking for in the pool, but he was actually an explorer in Asia. Marco Polo was born on September 8th in the year 1254 in Venice, Italy. Marco Polo is renowned for his adventures and explorations. He traveled from Venice to China, making many important discoveries along the way. He was known for his services for Kublai Khan, at the time the Emperor of China from the Yuan dynasty. He also is known for writing his famous book, The Travels of Marco Polo. Thanks to breakthroughs in interviewing technology, I was able to spend some time with Marco Polo in our modern era. Always the explorer, he was fascinated by our 21st century lifestyle, and he also spoke with me about his 13th century life. Welcome to this very exciting interview, and thank you for coming. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Alright, Marco, would you like to tell us about your initial trip to China, some of the highlights? Well, my dad and my uncle were sent by the Great Khan to get a few questions answered, 100 Christian priests, and some holy oil to bring back from the Pope to the Great Khan. And when they returned to China, they brought me along, and we crossed the Gobi Desert. It took over a month, and it was very brutal. And once we got into Afghanistan, I got quite ill, and we had to return to the mountains for me to get better. We finally arrived in China after 4 years. So tell me about your services for the Great Khan. Well, I spent over 16 years serving for Kublai Khan. My dad offered me in service to the Great Khan when I was just 21 years old. I was Khan's eyes and ears in the outreaches of China, Tibet, India, Burma, and even Java. I took diplomatic and administrative roles in the Chinese government, and I also entertained the Great Khan with stories about the lands I had traveled. I now know about your journey to China and your trips around the continent of Asia, so tell me about your trip home. Well, we were sent on one final task, to escort a Mongolian princess to Persia where she would be bride of the Persian prince. Our journey home took 4 years, and it was very dangerous and hard. The ships we took, we had many sailors on them, but only 20 of us survived, including my dad, my uncle, and I, and the princess. I know you brought quite a few discoveries back to Italy. Tell me about some of them. During my travels in Asia, I saw silk, noodles, other food, gunpowder, magnetic compasses, paper money, and other various things that we just didn't have in Italy. These were huge technological advancements for the Italians and other countries in the Western civilization. I also saw many crazy looking animals, like a rhinoceros, which I thought was a unicorn, but it was not. I've heard about your ever so popular book and read it a few times myself, so please tell me about it and the impact it had on people in the Western civilization. A few years after I got home, I commanded a battleship in a war against Genoa. I was captured and thrown into a prison where I met a writer named Rustichello. He helped me put what I experienced in Asia into a book. It was called The Travels of Marco Polo. It was extremely popular, but very few people believed me. I was only recognized that I was telling the truth centuries after my death. It was an honor to speak with such an accomplished person. As Marco Polo walked away, I knew I would never forget the experience.